Right.
This meeting is being recorded.
Lists in Python. So basically, these are acting similar to the strings that we have learned. So that means it's also having indexing based on that. So let me show. And if I take a kind of let's take a new file. And if there is a list like marks or something, so if I assign some values to that, so lists are actually mentioned inside the square bracket. List items mentioned inside the square brackets. Let's say marks. So you can mention these marks inside the square brackets like this. Okay, so then if I run this, let's save this as ls.py. And so you can see a list is defined. So then you can just call like similar to the screens. You can say marks 0, that is this, and marks -1, which is the last item. And if you say marks length of marks, so that is out of range because it's not going up to that. Right? That is out of range, but minus length of the marks will be again the first item, right? Because minus range, it's going up to, this is the first item. -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this length of marks is basically 12. So how many items? So -12th index is 34. So that is minus indexing. But in the plus indexing, if you want to print the last item like this, you have to give length of the marks -1 because the plus indexing start from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 will be the, so that is this. Marks -1 will be 11. So 44 is the last item. And if you want to print the last item, this is the way of accessing. And another way is this. So similar to the strings. And the first item can be accessed 0 or just minus length of the mark. So this is how the first item can be accessed. In a list, you can store any, even different values can be stored in a list. Let's say my list, and I can store different items, numbers, floating point values, even strings, and if you need a Boolean value, if you need, so these are different values, right? Let's say 3.4e plus. So likewise, you can store these scientific values, and true is wrong, right? TRUE, true. And then even you can store some other lists. Okay, let's say some other list, 1, 2, 3, and some other lists. So let's say A, B. So likewise, you can store values. You can even store lists. List inside list is possible, and list inside list is also possible. If you right, you can just store one, and in that, let's say you can store some other list. Let's store values like okay, 3, 4, 5. So then you can see that this is the main list. So this is a list item in the main list. In this list item, there are 2 list items, right? In this second list item, there is another list. Likewise, you can store list inside list. So whatever you can. So likewise, you can keep on displaying values. This is my list. Let's try to access the elements now and how we can access them. And let's say length of my list. If I say length of my list, so it says there are 8 items, but there are more, right? There are more because there are lists inside that. So I would like to access the last item. So I'm just accessing -1. That is my list -1. My list -1. I'm accessing that. You can print it, or you can just access in the shell. Actually, even without printing, it will be displayed. But when you run as a program, you have to print, right? So, but if you just write like this, it will be displayed in the shell. Okay, so then you can see this is the last item. Last item itself is a list. Then if you want take this item of the last one, you have to say in this list 0th item. So then you can get this, right? In this list 0th item, you can get like that. And then if you want to access okay, if you want to access right, this item 5, you can say not the 0th item, the first item. First item itself is a list, and then you need the 5 means the last one, and you can say this is a last one 0, 1, 2, or you can say -1. That will give last item. So likewise, you can go inside list and access the item. These are called nested lists. So you can store different items in the list, that is heterogeneous list. But inside that also you can store lists. So we call that nested list. Okay, let me
nested list.
Yeah, nested list. Right, let me quickly go to this lesson where we begin. Just want to see a small part. Okay.
So you're interested in machine learning, but you're not sure where to.
So I just want to see the beginning part of this. Yep. Okay. Do I have a lesson after that? That's what I am thinking. Like, so this is part 1. Because I can feel like I have discussed that. That is why I'm. This is part 2. Yes, we have part 2. That is the thing. Just quickly go through that again. Anyway, if you cannot remember, I'll discuss that. Doesn't matter. But as I remember, I just discussed this part in the part 2. Summarize the thing as so like discussed last week. Is this repetition or? Okay, in case if you cannot remember, I'll discuss that again, right? Because that this is repetition. But there is part 2 also. I just discussed about the list part as I can remember, because I have explained how to display names using the list split command. Can you remember?
I'm not sure.
So then, so second method of getting this items. Second method of getting the name printed. Name equal. You can say, you can write like let's say you can write something like this. Dasun, Nilanjana, Sirimevan, and then when I split this name dot split, it's dividing this item into list. The default delimiter is space. Didn't I explain this? You will get Dasun, Nilanjana.
Oh yeah, the name split. Yeah, I remember that part.
That is what I said. So this is divided into list items. Now what you can do?
Okay.
Now you can easily access. You can say name 0. So name 0 is Dasun. Sorry, name 0. Name 0 means like you can see. So once you divide, so and you have to get like this, right? Sorry, you have to assign this. The splitted one, you have to assign this to some list. Let's say L equal name split. L equal name split. Then you can get L0. L0 is Dasun. Then L1 is Nilanjana. And L2, or you can give L-1. It is Sirimevan, the last part. L-1. I'm quickly doing, right? L-1 is the last part. So I'm quickly doing that. Then the next one is L-1. Then the next one is you can try with this. If you want to print your name with initials, you can say L 0th name 0th letter, that is D. Then the first name, first one, this N, and then you can say you can merge them together. L00, you can merge that with L10, and actually in between that you need to write a dot and space. And here also you have to write a dot and space. This is easy way of doing the same that we have done. I just explained this using this. That's why I said that I have discussed anyway. So since you cannot remember that, I'll be discussing that again. Right. Then the last name is L-1. That is your last name. That is D and Sirimevan, you can see. So once you divide this into a list, you can access. You can convert this easy to the full name with initials. Full name full name can be converted into name with initials. That is easy. Right. Okay. Let's practice these things. Since you cannot remember that part, it's okay to practice. Right. Just practice these things quickly. How the lists are working, how list items can be accessed. Just practice it. And please save the file. Then next time, like when I'm asking whether we have done that, then you will have this, because when you just test this in the shell, sometimes it's not available. But what you have to do is you have to test like a file. So all these commands that I tried, you can try in the file itself. Here you can write like this. You can print here. The next command also you can try as a single file like this. So what will happen when you're trying like this? So it's convenient and easy to you to remember. Then this one also you can just say print, right? Length of marks, you can just print length of marks. Likewise, please try all the commands in a file. Name also you can just give a try. Name, you can define that as a list, not as a string there. Then you can split it and assign it to a list. After that, you can try the commands that I said. Right.
This meeting is being recorded.
Let's try to do something different. Like I need you to do something like this. This is a self-practicing exercise. As I said in the beginning, try to okay, this is a list, right? I'll tell one more thing. How can you append into the list, right? The items can be added into the list. So when you say marks.append, let's say 100, it will be added. Then if you're printing marks, you can see 100 is appended. And similarly, you can append, let's say append 10. and then you can see 10 is appended. And I print the marks again. You can see 10 is also appended. Likewise, you can append into the list. And if you want to remove from the list, you can say another 100 is appended now. Let's say you want to remove from the list, you can say marks dot remove. You can remove the item from the list. Let's say you want to remove 100, and then if you print these marks, you can see the first 100 is removed. And if you remove the 100 again, then the second 100 is also removed, right? Likewise, if you have multiple items, you can remove. But if you are trying to remove item which is not existing, it will give an error, right? It's giving an error. So therefore, you can safely use this if you can check using the in operator. If let's say if 34 in marks, then you can say marks dot remove 34. So this is a safe operation. Then if you try to print that, you can see 34 is removed. Again, I'm giving, because another 34 is there, I can give the command again. So then the second 34 is also, you can see the second 34 is removed. No 34s anymore. So if I try to execute this one more time, you can see it's not giving any errors, right? You can execute this anytime. It's not giving any errors, because if the mark exists only, if 34 in marks only, it will be removed. If it is not there, you don't want to worry about that. So the command will still execute, but it's not displaying that ugly error, right? This way you can remove from the marks, and adding to the marks can be done using append command. Remove can be done using remove command. A safe remover, safety remove can be done with if statement. You can just check the mark, check whether the element is there. If the element is there, you can remove. That is safer, rather than just trying to remove and displaying an error. Because displaying error is okay in the shell, in the development environment, but displaying error in the user environment, it's not convenient. Because for an example, just think if ATM machine is displaying error like this, so that is ugly, right? Users users not expecting these things. If it is ATM machine, so it can be something, maybe you can display the machine is this maybe temporary, the service temporarily unavailable, something like that can be displayed. But so this kind of the service call or this trace back, these errors will not be displayed. There should be sensible errors. Maybe it's readable to the users, and users will not afraid by looking at the error. Right? So these things need to be assured when programming. Now you have to practice this appending and removing, and one more exercise that you need to try. Okay, this is the question, so please write down it. Write a program to enter marks of given set of students into a list. So I cannot say this is exact count. There can be 2 students, 3 students, 4 students. You have to check and insert that marks into the list. So the first thing is find the total marks, the list. Secondly, find the average marks in the list. Find the average marks in the list. Third, find the maximum mark in the list. And the fourth one, so this is quite big exercise. Find the minimum mark in the list. In the list. Maximum, minimum, total, and the average. So first of all, you have to write a program. So this program should be able to capture marks, like you can do enter marks. Then whatever the marks entered should be appended to the list. After finishing this entering process, what do you need to do? After finishing the entering process, you need to calculate the total, average, minimum, and the maximum. Okay, shall we do this quickly? I'll give you, okay, for the first question, I'll give you 5 minutes, this one. So let's do one by one, right? First complete the first question. I'll give 5 minutes. Let's complete this one and then go to this one. After completing then go to this one. So likewise, let's go one by one, right? First question, I'll give 5 minutes. Try to complete that now. The first thing is like you have to think like a user. Don't think like a programmer. Right? The first thing that you need to do is you have to think like a user. If you are the user using this software after developing, so can you edit the code? So that is my question. Can you edit the code if you are a user? So is like so Windows or Linux given to you. Is it expecting code editing or just inputs?
Okay.
Like
First option.
for an example, okay, think that you are downloading Windows 11 and installing in your computer. Okay, so when you are using that for your day-to-day tasks, do you need to edit codes or do you need to just put your inputs?
Put my inputs.
Can you at least see the code? You cannot even see the code, right?
No.
You cannot even see the code. When you put the inputs, you will get the output. So think like user. First of all, think like user. Like in this one, so the main problem that I'm seeing here is, yes, the task is done. But in order to get this done, user of this system need to edit codes, right? Why?
Yeah.
Right? This marks is a list. That list need to be edited to get this. So that is not the expectation by the user. Actually, the user need a convenient way. Means when you write this program, so there should be a way to input. Let's say def mark list. Okay, let's say mark list is the function. And the first thing that you need to do is input marks. Okay, let's say n equal int or float. Let's give float input. And you can say enter the marks. Or enter student marks. Okay, that is a message given to the user. It's float enter student marks. Okay, I'm checking whether if this n is equal to -1 or if n is equal to nothing or 0. A 0 can be accommodated, but -1. Right? If n is equal to -1, so that means like you can display the instructions. So first of all, that also need to be considered. Enter valid marks between 0 and 100. So I have given the instructions. After, let print. Once the mark list is over, enter -1 to get the result. I have given the instruction to the users what to do. Enter valid marks between 0 and 100 inclusively. You can say inclusively. So 0, including 0 and 100. Once once the mark list is over, in input, or you can say enter or input -1 to get the results. So once the list is over, input -1. If -1, if n is equal to -1, you have to show the result. Show results. Okay. Show results of. So let's say this is there's a list. Marks is a list, and that is initially empty list. You can just give empty. Show results of this marks. So this is how I organize the code. Show results of marks. Else, so yes, else no such thing. That means your marks is already entered, and then your marks is already entered. You can just take this part out in the program, and you can say one more thing. To start entering marks, use function. So that can also be given as an instruction, right? Then it's more clear. Okay, then you are entering the marks, and the marks is input the marks. Marks is this, and then you can say marks dot app. This marks also you can just display here outside this variable, and you can call this global marks, right? Because the marks variable is empty. When you're starting, it is empty. Then you can populate. You can append the new marks which is entered. So this is what I expected. You have to think a little, but I didn't expect this much of organizing. But anyway, so kind of this. When you are asked to write a program, be organized. To start entering marks, so this is how a software is made. To start entering marks, use mark list function. To start entering marks, use mark list function. Okay, start with this. Start with this one. To start entering marks, use mark list function. Enter valid marks between 0 to 100 inclusively. Once the mark list is over, input -1 to terminate. Get the results. So marks variable is displayed, and global marks referring to the same mark variable. N equal float, input the marks. Append in that. If n is -1, show results. If not, else. That's what you need to do. Else you have to call the same function, because the next marks need to be entered recursively. You have to call the same function. Okay, so let's define the show result. This is not just copying. Don't just copy, just think. Show results, and you are entering these marks, the same marks here. Then find in the total. Total is initially empty, and you can say for mark in marks, total is equal to total plus mark, and then you can print total is total. And similarly, you can say average is total divided by length of the marks, and you can print the average as well. This is what you have done. This is what you have done. Average is AVG. Just displaying the result, but before the result, the organized code should be there to see. Okay, let's run this to check the errors, because that is also important. Once a program is created, you have to check the errors. Okay, you are displayed instructions to start entering marks, marks use marks list function. To enter valid mark with enter valid mark within these are the instructions. Now I'm starting marks by entering this. It's asking marks, and asking marks again. You can see it's continue to ask marks. I can enter the marks. It's not going to stop. If I want to stop, I have to insert -1, and then that will be stopped, and the total and average is displayed. Let's see marks variable also. You can see, yeah, these are the this is appended, right? -1 is also appended, so that should be avoided. So here, so this is my mistake. It's a logical error. See how you should think like this. It's very, you have to be very careful. -1 is there in the list. It's giving wrong total and the average. Make sure this is entered here, right? Only if it is not -1, then it should be entered. Let's try this again one more time, because the result we got has an error. So let's see whether it has error by re-entering the same inputs: 45, 34, 23, 56, 34, again 56, 34, 45, then -1. You can see, yeah, this has error, the -1. So if I print the marks, you can see now -1 is excluded. Okay, shall we try this? Now you have homework. I'm clearly highlighting. What is the homework? It's right, 3 and 4. Find the maximum mark in the list and find the minimum marks in the list. That we have already done. For 2 numbers, we have found the maximum. For 3 numbers, we have discovered the maximum. We did that exercise in past. You can just watch the video back again. Or if you have the exercise file, you can just go and look into that. We found the maximum and the minimum previously, but for 2 numbers and 3 numbers, not for a list. Use the same technique. Apply this time. This time you have to apply that to the list. Okay. Right. Try this. First try this. Get the result. If you need any help, please let me. Right. Okay. So think like this. So we have done this exercise previously also. Right. So when there is only one, okay, let's say there's one student in the class. Who is the tallest and who is the shortest?
That
Particular
one
student,
student,
right? That student, because only one is there. So when another one arrives, what you need to check?
if the other one is taller or shorter.
Yeah.
Shorter.
This, okay, let's say another one arrives. Now you have like you have 2 variables defined. These 2 variables just need to find, this is actually, let's say this is max and this is min. Max and min, these are 2 variables, or let's say just complete, right? Minimum and the maximum. Okay, or tallest and the shortest, whatever. First, this is the minimum, this is the maximum. First round, when there is one student. But when next student comes, you have to check with the minimum whether the newcomer is less than the current minimum. The newcomer is less than the current minimum. For sure, newcomer is less than, here this one is less than the current minimum. Therefore, the new minimum is this. New minimum is this. Then you are checking newcomer, is it greater than the current maximum? No. Then the maximum remains same. Okay, then another one, let's say third one, the third guy. Now you have to check whether the minimum, the current minimum is this, is it less than the current minimum? No, the newcomer is not less than the current minimum, so no change. Now you have to check whether the maximum is greater than the current maximum. The current maximum is this, the newcomer is greater than that, therefore you have to tell, okay, the current maximum is this. Likewise, dynamically you have to change this maximum and minimum when item arrives. Right? there are number of items now. When these items arrives, you have to check the newcomer. For an example, 78 is there. The newcomer is 45. Then you have to check both, whether this is less than minimum and whether this is greater than maximum. So less than minimum, yes. Again, next one. Likewise, you have to check all the items, and as a final result, you can give the final maximum and the final minimum. Understood?
Yeah.
Logic. Okay. This way you have to think. So I'm not going to give the code. This way you have to think, right? And try to apply the code to get the maximum and minimum. I'll keep that task as a homework. Tomorrow, you can show it to me. Right?
Okay.
Okay, then good night. Bye.
Okay, wait. I actually have a question.
Yeah. Ask.
So, how do I practice outside of class? Is there a way for me to do that? Like, what should I do to
The
practice?
thing is, one main thing, play the recording. One main thing is play the recording, right? After playing the recording, what you can do is, so try to write the codes without looking at the codes. So because I'm initially giving this as a challenge, no, then I'm explaining. So pause when you got the challenge and try to write the code without looking at. So that is one thing to repeat practice the things that we are doing. The second thing is you can go to tutorials point website, and so there is in the tutorials point website, just search Python, and there, right, you have something called Learn Python. So this is Code Academy. This is not the one. So please go to the Python tutorials point. There, I'll send the website. Right? There for the concept practicing, right? So you can see here the concepts are there. So overview, environment, setup, syntax, variables, basic operations, decision making, loops, numbers, strings, lists, tupples, dictionaries, date, time, function. These concepts are there. The concept practicing is there. Just look at the concept practicing, and by doing that, you can practice, right? By doing that, you can practice. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll stop from here. Then good night. Bye.
Okay. Good night.
Hello.